Who do you want to start with today?
I don't know.
Well, do you have anything funny or good or something to get me going here?
No. I think I got to leave it on you today.
Okay. All right.
You're better at the starts than I am.
Okay, maybe I am, but it might not be positive.
Oh, man. Is this what you want right now? Okay, go ahead.
I have to get it off my chest.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm driving the other day, yesterday, Sunday it was, and it occurred to me, so the latest lockdown that we've had in this COVID, right? I'm driving and the latest lockdown, they actually wanted, because I haven't really followed any rules and I'm not, I really don't care. But we're supposed to not leave our yard. That's actually the rule, right? Unless you need to get groceries and stuff. So I was driving the other day and I'm like, not possible. Not possible. Not possible. I don't know how anybody could actually do that.
Yeah.
Not leave their house.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, not me, not a chance.
Well, I've been leaving my house.
I know, but the actual rules is people are supposed to follow this. This is what it's supposed to be. The lockdown is not leaving your house, not doing anything. I couldn't do it. Literally, I'm sitting there going, this is insanity.
You know, what annoys me is people saying, people getting mad about people not following the rules. And there's a difference between people going out and being an asshole on purpose and whatever. But
yes,
so I'm not saying people should run around and act like idiots because they can do whatever they want. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to go to work. I want to go, if I need to go buy something, I'm going to go buy it. Stop being mad at me. Don't yell at me. It's not my fault. They're people healthcare workers yelling about how crazy it is at the hospital and all. It's we know, what do you want us to do?
I know.
What do you want us to do? I'm doing it as much due diligence as I can.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you want me to do.
You know what the problem that gets me more than anything is this is what I don't think people, for some people it hasn't affected their lives that much.
Yeah.
Right. So because there's some, people make comments sometimes and I go, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
And even within my family, my daughter, my son, my older ones are still working full tilt. Yep. They just can't go to a restaurant and stuff. So it hasn't really affected them.
Yep.
A lot of people are still working from home and stuff. So it's affected them or whatever, but it's for me, and people we went and had some takeout the other day and we like to support this guy. He's a great guy. He has good food. And we said, it's good to see that you're busy. And he said, not busy, man. He goes, you're here this 2 hours on a Saturday night. It's busy with takeout. It's always, and now I would say 12 people in line. There is 10 skip the dishes. So they take a percentage of that off the top. He goes, but anyways, these 2 hours that he was there on a Saturday night, that's when we're busy. He goes, it's the rest of the week. I still have to have staff in case I can't just lay them off and stuff. He goes, I'm dying. And for me, the business, our business is run at, because we were talking about it this morning, at whatever capacity, a small capacity. A couple months of this past year.
Well, yeah, I'd say max has been 30% of what we would normally be doing, with the exception of a few weeks where we had the tournament going on or whatever. But other than that, for over a year. But
the part that's driving me nuts, I was explaining this to my wife the other day, not that she doesn't understand, but it's it's the purpose part. It's we still have we're still doing work for the business, but it's a totally the main, keeping the main thing. Well, I can't keep the main thing right now, the training of hockey players and stuff. It was not my purpose for life, but it gives you a purpose to get up every day. And it's of course the podcasts and everything else that we do is all good, but it's the main thing is just not the main thing. It's not, we're not running our business right now, and it's driving me nuts now. This has been over a year and a couple months.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe the kids haven't played hockey in a year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more because that's terrible in itself. But at a certain point, it's funny because you're starting to see people that were on one side of the argument now come to this side of the argument. We're okay, it's getting to be a bit much and whatever. And it's we've been saying this from the beginning. Unless you're actually gonna lock people in their house, unless you're gonna close all the airports, stop travel, and enforce it, which would be crazy. If they were to do that, then there's nothing you can do. It's whatever is going on is going to go on. So, can I go to work, please? And so but people that, like you said, it seems like the dividing line between an argument is like people who have their job and they're getting paid and it's not affecting their life, or they live at home or they don't have bills to pay or whatever. They're on the one side. And
well, one of Christine's employees said that this is actually happy about this because she goes, we've never been in a better financial situation in our life because they don't leave their house.
Yeah, good for you.
And it's like, yeah, wow, good for you.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have nothing to. It's not like it's really drastically been a negative impact on my life. I don't own the business, but like when I think about my parents, like my parents are saying too, if this happened 10 years ago, like they don't know what they would have done. Like my dad does not know what he would have done.
I know.
So it's like you got 4 kids, you're in a hell, and that's the stuff that people don't think about. Like what if you're a young family and you got laid off or whatever because you're not allowed to go to work, and then you have 2 kids at home that are young doing whatever. It's like, what are those people supposed to do?
I don't know.
So it's like,
don't know.
That's the part that annoys me is like the people that make the comments on the one side. Like
I just don't understand how you can say, okay, don't go to work. You can't work. Your business can't run. Like I'm one business.
Well, I mean, but there's nuance to this, because if there was a certain level of severity to what was going on, then it would make more sense to me at least. But exactly. There isn't. So I don't get I don't know. But
yeah.
I'm not a doctor and I'm not a economist and
You're
I'm not
a scientist,
anything. Though. Yeah, but it's like just logically looking at it. It's like it doesn't matter. They're looking at one part of life.
One piece of health.
Yeah, right. One piece of health, one piece of life, and that's what they've been making decisions on for the last year. And then especially when you can look over the border and see they're all starting to open up and other countries are starting to open up. And I don't care if you can't. It's not a fair comparison. Or like save it. I don't care. It's just you get to see people going back to doing like Dalton moving to Nashville and stuff, and they're totally doing whatever over there. They're fine and no worse off. So it's frustrating, man.
A lot of questions about the NHL draft because the OHL didn't get to play hockey this year. They're wondering how the hell they're going to do it. Again, I'm going to say they're at a disadvantage, but scouts do a really good job. They do. They really do a really good job. They can siphon through who's who in the zoo, but. Yeah, you like that one?
Who's who in the zoo?
Yeah. I didn't invent that one.
No?
What is rare? Rare, isn't it?
It is rare.
That comes from my wife.
Really? Who's who in the zoo?
Who's who in the zoo? It's a good term.
I like that.
Yeah. And so I didn't mean to be negative about to start the podcast, but it's actually my mood right now.
It is your mood, yeah.
The last couple days I've been like, wow, man. Because it's actually hit me. It's purpose. Like like train with a purpose is my thing. It's I know that when I have something to accomplish, it's something, but it's like, it just seems like the days are a lot more void right now. And I've got to try to keep it together for my son and, well, for everybody, but for myself. But it's like, it's getting long, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough to.
Long. And then they just said today they're going to extend it another couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what goes on with that, man.
I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Ugh. So. There's your positive. Yeah, anyways. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. So
we're going to talk a little bit about hockey, some fitness, some health, some training. Your domain?
My domain.
Then my domain.
And your domain.
Our domain.
Our domain.
All right. So, listen, I was we decided that this was going to be the day that we're going to do some hockey fitness. Excited about it. So you and I and Dalton sat down and we really went through our programming for the summertime, and we really wanted to just get Dalton's perspective on if we were missing anything or whatnot, and he was helpful to us.
Yeah.
The guy's awesome.
Yeah.
So when we talk about hockey fitness, we're going to talk about the actual fitness part, the off-ice training first, and we're going to dive into a little bit of the on-ice training, which is, we're not going to get too in-depth. It's just kind of what you should keep your...
It's like a framework kind of thing.
Your framework, because sometimes when you go on the ice, there's things that you can't control if a coach is there. If you depending on your ice, and who knows, you get on the ice in the next month or two anyways. Anyway, so when we look at hockey training, it's going to be so much different than what you see at the gym, right? Because here's a comment I get a lot, like from my brother-in-laws or people that aren't in the hockey world. So I remember when my brother-in-laws met Kyle Wellwood. He played in the NHL when he was playing in the NHL. So Kyle, not Eric.
Right.
And he's a skinny little guy, right? Doesn't even have big legs. Like he was actually not in good shape.
Yeah.
I'll just say it like that. He was never in good shape. It was one of the reasons that he didn't probably he did very well, so I shouldn't say that.
Or
But
maybe didn't dominate more as much as he
could have been
probably
better.
Could have been. Yeah.
Could have been better.
Yeah.
But he didn't care.
Right.
So he quit when he wanted. He said, enough of this.
Yeah.
Imagine. People
Crazy.
don't understand that.
I know, man.
But anyways, just a different dude.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I remember my brother looking at him and goes, he doesn't play in the NHL. There's no way he plays in the NHL. He's like a little twig. He's probably 175 maybe and built like a melted waxed candle. So I was taking a group of kids there in the back of my truck and we were going to the track to do some running. And Kyle was out for a walk. And so I pulled aside and said, hey, Kyle, what are you up to? He goes, oh, just going for a walk. I said, hey, we're going to the track. Do you want to come? He goes, yeah, okay. So we went there and we were warming up and he peeled off his shirt and literally all the kids just went, couldn't believe the shape he was in. Yeah. So anyways, but people say he doesn't look strong. Like he looks like a little twig. If you were to look at Zach Kassian, like, right? People think on the ice he's this big, huge guy, and he's about 6'3", 6'2 and a half, 6'3".
He's
tall enough.
Yeah.
Not thick up top at all.
Super lean, man.
Super lean.
Super
You think
thin.
he's skinny.
Yeah.
Big, good bottom half.
Yeah.
Dalton, even for the monster that he is, he's not. I mean, he can put it on.
Yeah.
But he's his upper body is like lean.
I would say Dalton is probably one of the bigger guys I've seen.
Yeah.
Like when you think about a guy that's like big and muscular, like a football player, or even like what a bodybuilder would look like, Dalton is probably, and he doesn't look like that at all, but he is probably the closest I've seen where he's actually got like, always has abs, like he has a squared chest.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have like the bowling ball arm. Like he doesn't have, that's not how he looks. He doesn't look like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an interesting difference between, actually one thing I was thinking of when you were talking there was, I remember when I went to, it was like a charity golf tournament thing that Luke Wilson put on, and a bunch of the boys were there, the pro guys from around town. And the difference between the size of Luke Wilson, for anyone who doesn't know, Luke Wilson played Seattle Seahawks, football player, Super Bowl. This guy is enormous. It's like it's hard to believe that's a real person. Yeah. When you see him in real life. So what is he? What is he? 6'5"?
About 6'6".
6'6", 260.
265.
So we're talking like he fills out a triple XL.
Yeah.
Like he wears triple XL and fills it out.
He's huge.
So that guy standing next to Cass or Dalton, like it makes them look like little boys.
Yeah.
So it's not even the same realm of body type that is required.
That's right.
But like you were saying, people expect them, like hockey players, to look one way or another way. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. We were shoveling the snow there one time this winter, and the neighbor heard, I heard Charlie's a pretty good hockey player. And I go, yeah, he's pretty good. And so where is he next? I said, well, it looks like he's going to be playing in the OHL next year. He goes, oh, he's not very big. Well, he's 6'1" and a half. Yeah. He's 180 some pounds, but they're expecting to see the football size, right? That's the people's image of that. Yeah. But like, it's so different. Like you look at a Mitch Marner, people always go, how can he play?
Yeah, that's my favorite example.
He's just a little rat.
Yeah.
Sorry, one sec. And that's the conception.
Misperception.
People, whatever. It's a word. Yeah. That you have to be big and strong, and you kind of do. You don't have to be big, but you have to be strong, and your strength has to come from the right places. Mm-hmm. So, like one of the things that Dalton said is that a hockey player most of the time will blend into a crowd. Yeah. Right. They might be, any height from 5'8" to 6'7". Right. But they're not going to be standing there like a football player typically, and you go, "Oh my God, this guy is
that's a monster person."
No wonder he runs around the ice. Yeah. So if you saw Zach Kassian in a crowd, you'd say, "Oh, there's a guy that's in good shape." Yeah. And most of the guys look like they're in very good shape for the most part. Yeah. They fill out a pair of jeans, but you wouldn't necessarily say this guy's a killer in the NHL. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's also another thing, too, that you could probably talk about this a bit is there's a difference, and you talk about how the game has changed so much, too, now, right? Yeah. And so the days of, like, those big, huge defensemen that aren't very mobile but will just pound the piss out of you kind of thing, like, those guys don't really exist so much anymore. Yeah. Like, maybe there's another one since then, but the last, like, just huge meat sack like that I can think of was probably George Laraque.
Yeah, like...
or who's the guy on Washington? Brashear.
Donald Brashear.
Like-
Yeah, that era is kind of done.
Or maybe the last one now is like Ryan Reeves. He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He can move.
But there's very few of those.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot where they're just like these ginormous humans that just don't, like their structure is just ridiculous. Where if you see him out in public, it's like, holy crap, that guy's a monster. Like
yeah, so now it'd be someone more like Tom Wilson.
right.
Tom Wilson's a 6'4", I believe. I think he's about 6'4", probably 215, 220, which is a big man, but it's not.
Well,
it's not. 230, 235 would make him huge.
Well, and
but
the
he's
weight
just a lean
thing,
guy.
the weight thing is huge too. Because I remember Dalton talking about the one year and he might have said it on the podcast when we had him on the
I think
podcast
so.
when he was like he had to get. They wanted him at like what was it 230 at like 8%.
Yep. At the
And
end of
then-
the year, they say come back. Basically, your weight 230ish and
Yeah.
about 8% body
Yeah.
fat. Be a killer.
Exactly. So then he comes back and they're like, well, actually, it's better if you're down at 215 because we need you to be able to move.
Yeah.
So
change that fast.
yeah, and you think about the difference in what is required of a hockey player
Yeah.
as opposed to different sports. There's no sport that requires as much capacity
100%.
as hockey.
100%.
I can't think of any, unless you're
It's a
doing
different sport. This is the thing. It's a different sport. There's so many things that you have to be good at.
Well, it's the mix of strength and capacity. That's the problem because like you look at like a distance runner, and they're built like my pinky because they just need capacity.
Yeah.
All they're worried about is capacity. They don't need this extra weight. They don't need this extra muscle. They don't need that. But then you look at a sprinter. They don't need the huge capacity.
No.
And then you see the muscle mass on these guys, like sprinters, the huge legs, like because they need that explosiveness.
Yeah.
And that's what hockey players need, but they also need the capacity.
Yep.
So it's this weird cross between having muscle for that intense explosiveness that you need and having the capacity to just keep going and going and going, right? It's not the same in other sports. There's no other sport that really has that much of a cross that I can think of, at least right now.
Not that I can think of, because like even soccer, you have to have some capacity. You have to have a little bit of quickness and some agility, but I don't think you need to have the same amount of strength and power that you need in hockey. I don't think.
There's no contact.
Yeah.
There's no the amount of like interval work you're doing in soccer is far less than
I would agree
than in hockey, right?
Yeah. So hockey's unique. So when guys are going to the gym, and sometimes it might be your first time going to the gym, you got to understand that fitness for hockey is not bodybuilding and it's not aesthetics, right? So bodybuilding meaning you're going to see squats and you will still see this stuff, but the bulk of the work is, you're lifting a weight, you're taking a break. It's about building mass, or it's like different. Well, the variety of the workout isn't all over the place as you would do as an athlete, and that's the difference is when you come into so if we were to walk in, and I don't even know if I could right now, the times that I've gone to a public gym, I was in there starting a workout, people are staring at you like you're what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be looking at them like, what are you doing? Like that doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah,
but it's a different reason for working out, right?
Yeah.
So it's like so if you can put it in this if you look at it this way for hockey players and parents, if you're buying a hockey program or you're getting your kid in shape, is that there's exercising, and then there's working out, and then there's training. And to be a hockey player, you're in training, and there's a huge difference. Like exercising would be like getting out and having some fun, maybe some walking, some jogging, biking, give me something else. Biking,
movement in general.
That's a good way to put it.
Like it's just a circuit for the sake of doing movement or whatever. Just being active generally would be like exercise to me, at least.
Yeah, no, that would be right. And then working out, you'd take that up to another level. You probably would be in the gym lifting some weights, or you have a program where you're trying to get some kind of result, and it's still more of a leisurely fun thing. No, it's still hard. You can still do it a hard way.
Yeah, totally. It can totally be hard.
It can still be hard, but working out is a whole different thing. Like that's the way I look at working out is, you're going in there to work your chest and your shoulders or your legs only that day. But in hockey, we do that totally different. It's called training. And every sport, so if you look at an MMA fighter, they're not working out. You can call it working out, but it's actually training. It's specific times of the day to get specific results and specific different disciplines within the sport.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll see them, they'll go for a run. They'll be on the punching bag. They'll be doing jiu-jitsu. They'll be doing biking.
Yeah.
They're like the interval training. They'll be doing all kinds of skipping, and just to get that capacity up. So that's actually maybe one that's fairly close to what hockey would be. It would be like mixed martial arts.
Well, I think most pro sports at least would more be like the way that I think about it. The way you laid it out, I like that, where it's exercise, working out, and training. But I think more broadly, you could say exercise is the umbrella category. Then within exercise, you can be exercising or you could be working out. And then working out is an umbrella category where you could be working out or you could be training. So I feel like if you think of like a big bubble, exercise, smaller bubble, workout, smallest bubbles, training, and it just gets more hyper specific as you get more directed in what you need.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So it's like, because working out is still exercise.
Yep.
And training is still exercise.
Yeah.
And then training is working out and exercise. So it's like they fall into each other a bit. But when you're trying to do something in particular, like you have to be able to perform a specific task over and over and over, then there's specific things you need to work on to the exclusion of other things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the difference for me, like working out. Because for me, like I would say I work out. Like I'm not training. I work out because I'm not doing. Yeah, I just want to be well-rounded. I want to have a good aerobic base. I want to have good strength level. I want to have good muscle mass. I want to move well. I want to look good. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And I think that is more working out. But then training is more like you're gonna have to sacrifice other parts of what would be considered working out. Yeah. Because you just need to be good at these things. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Well, so. Yeah, so as a player, like a lot of the kids, and this is the biggest thing in the gym is like, how much can I lift? Mm-hmm. How much, right? So, and like George St. Pierre said it really well. He said, the fighter, he said like squatting 400, 500, 600 pounds, it could be good, might not be, because it means absolutely nothing if I'm in an awkward position with a body on me that I have to get out of. And if I have never been in that awkward position, and my smaller muscles aren't trained to get out of it, then I'm useless.
What good is that strength?
And you take it to another level. If you can squat 600 pounds, but if you hit a piece of ice and you don't have any balance or any of those smaller muscles, ice meaning you're walking outside, not hockey.
Yeah.
And you slip on something a little bit, do you have the balance and the athleticism to recover from that? I know I can. I've done that, Right. So when you're going to the gym and you're just working a big, strong, like to get big and strong, that's not going to necessarily help you in hockey. Mm-hmm. Because, for example, if you can squat, here's the thing, right? If you're really, really strong and you can squat heavy, get a couple reps in of heavy squats or heavy bench or whatever it is that you're doing, that doesn't apply to hockey because you're only good for about 3 seconds.
Yep.
So you have to be strong with the capacity work. So that's the difference between training and working out.
Yeah, 100%. I think because I remember this was a huge mistake that I made because no one ever really taught me how to work out properly. I just knew I needed to work out. And my first personal trainer was a bodybuilder. Yeah. And so when I went to the gym and worked out, I thought I need to go to the gym and work out. I didn't know about, which it seems like common sense now, like you need to have capacity and never get tired and make sure that your joints are working well and you're moving fluidly and all that. You have good range of motion. I didn't know any of that. So when I was 16 and started going to the gym, I was working out like a bodybuilder because I thought that's what working out was, or that's what I thought training was. I thought I'm training for hockey right now by doing these lifts, and I didn't know the way that I was supposed to be working out. So that's a huge thing, especially for kids that are just starting to get into working out. And that's something that I run into with the guys in the gym now, is a lot of them are really concerned, like you said, with how much can I lift? Well, how do I look? Like, what does my body look like? Yeah. And those are just two huge ego things, right? Because you want to be the strongest and you want to look the best because those are the things that everyone see. Yeah. But the problem is, like you said, the best hockey players, oftentimes you can't tell.
Yeah. No one's when you walk into a place, no one is going to compliment you on how strong your pelvic floor is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, what's funny about that? So the one day Pops, one of the older guy that helps us out with stuff around the gym. He asked me. He's like, what is he? 4.
He's 197. He's 85.
Yeah, so he's an old guy. He comes in and he asked me the one day. He's like, "Hey Eric, I got a question." It's like I'm looking at you and Dalton when you guys are working out, and like he doesn't look like you. Like you guys look totally different in terms of like your body structure. Like Dalton doesn't look like he's really muscular and all that. And I said, well, yeah, like that's not what is required when you're a hockey player. For me, I look more like a bodybuilder because that's how I trained through my teenage years, which isn't what I was supposed to be doing up until I was 20. So I developed these really round like muscle bellies because that's how I was training, but that's not what is optimal for a hockey player. So when you look at Dalton, you're like, this guy's a freaking beast. It's not in the sense of this guy's so peeled and shredded and looks like he could step on stage or go to the beach and be the most cut guy or most shredded guy or biggest guy you're going to see out there. It's very different. So that's a huge thing that especially the young guys that are starting to work out need to understand is it's not about how you look necessarily, and it's not about how much you can lift, you know? And so maybe we could get into like kind of talking about how to prioritize what you're looking at.
Well, I think before I do that, I'd like to just say this is my opinion. There's zero science to this. Because a lot of people can get really confused in the details, right? Okay, I need a personal trainer. Nope, you don't. You need all the weights, you need all this. No, you don't. So if you happen to be a 15-year-old kid or 14-year-old kid and you happen to have a squat rack, go ahead and squat. It's fine, and go do your push-ups, pull-ups, bench, whatever. Like you can, it's like what I talk about in hockey. It's like you've got your base skills, right? You've got to be able to stick handle, skate, shoot, pass, and turn and do those things very well. So that's okay. Like you don't want to work on taking rims off the boards better than anyone else when you can't really skate well or stick handle. So your base is
you got to cover the base, right?
So if I'm starting from zero, which a lot of people do, without anyone to help them or the money to afford training, then I would say yes, go any form of squatting, push-ups, pull-ups, any kind of pull, flipping things, like anything that helps you become strong, great. And especially when you're younger, it's only going to help you. Like you're going to get strong, you're going to build some base, you're figuring out your body, it's all good. The other thing that you can do, and I would say, is figure out how to run. Like go to a track, go to a field, go to a hill and run. How many times? I don't know. Just run.
Just run.
Shut up.
No, just run.
Like it's really not that complicated.
Run,
and you're tired, maybe push yourself to do it again and again and again, or not. Run short distances really, really fast and mix it up. Like, so if anyone's starting with that kind of stuff and doing a regular interval of running and lifting and whatever, you've got a pretty good base. Like it's a good start. It's better than someone going to the gym, designing a program where you've never done anything.
Well, okay, let me cut in on that for a sec because this is a good point. So I related a lot to the way you can think about it is when you go to school, you basically learn a whole bunch of general things. And then as you get older in school, you start to get more and more specific. And then you hit high school and you get to start picking which classes you want to take. And then you start to get really specific. And then you go to university and you get to pick what you want to major in. And that gets even more specific. And then once you come out of school, you go to a job where now you're working on something hyper specific, where it's like, this is what I do, this is my job. And you can think of working out in the same way. So when you're young, start by getting a feel of everything. Like you need to be strong, you need to be fast, you need to be able to go for long periods of time. And so work on all of those things, just generally, however you can, whatever's available to you, do that. So you're establishing, like you said, that base of knowledge and how to treat your body and how to develop that strength base and that aerobic base. That's
learn what pushing yourself actually is.
Yeah. And that's what, so when you're young, it can be as broad as you need it to be.
Yeah.
So you can fall more into like the exercise category or more into the workout category. Would like just go out and play, like throw things, play games, like roll around, be functional. Everyone says functional training, but do things that are movements for real life. That's what people mean by functional when they say it. Like things that you're gonna actually have to move in real life. That's a good way to think about it, starting especially when you're young. So
So if I was a kid that just starting out and I just want to. I'm motivated to work out. My parents don't have money, can't get me there, whatever. It's the perfect thing to do is go find a place to run. Like run fast and recover. That's the way to do it. And do it frequent, like a few frequencies a week, and do it for, just push yourself. Go to so an idea of that is you can go to a track and you can start off by doing a warm-up run. This is real simple, right?
Yep.
A warm-up run and say, okay, I'm going to do 100-meter runs. And maybe part of your warm-up is you start at the one end, the 0, and get to the 100, and maybe it's jogging to 50, like the halfway mark, 50 meters, and then get an 80 or 100% of your capacity sprint, 80% to 100%.
Yep.
And try how many times can you do that? I wouldn't do 30. You probably couldn't.
Yeah.
But do maybe 4 or 5 of those, and then say, okay, I'm going to do it with an 80% sprint, another 5 times, and get somewhere around 10, and then call it a day.
Yep.
Then you can do that same track on another day where you're doing only 10 or 20 meter sprints, where it's as hard as you can and you rest. Those are things. You can go to a field and you can do like what are called tempo runs or fartleks. You ever hear of a fartlek?
No.
It's basically like a tempo run, but it's I just wanted to throw it out, but it's an actual thing. It's funny, eh?
It's a great word.
Fartlek, not
That's
lick,
right.
fartlek.
Lek.
L-E-K. But where you're doing maybe a football field and you're doing a jog and a sprint, a sprint and a sprint, stuff like that. But play around with it and then add your push-ups and pull something, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Fine for a base.
Yeah, that's
actually it's more than fine. If I had to do one thing, I'd run hills.
Well,
that's what I would do.
But this goes to your point too, is because I agree with what you said at the start before you went on the spiel. There is, it's people complicate things.
Yeah,
they make it complicated, and we say it all the time in here too. Like, people come in and they think they need to do these hyper specific things, and it's like, just lift, man. Like, just do a workout. Like, just do a bit of everything. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
Go, and you'll be in fine shape. Now, as you get older, as you get into higher levels, then it's more appropriate that you have things that are hyper specific or really tailored to your needs, or very, very hockey specific, like specific in terms of the type of movements you're doing and which things you put more focus on as opposed to other things. And because that's the other thing that people throw around words like sports specific, hockey specific, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And we talked to a few people about that kind of terminology, and it's like, if you're doing athletic style training, like, all the sports are the same. Like, you need to use the same types of movements, using the same types of muscles, you're using those kinds of things. But now, when somebody says something that's hockey specific to me, it's like, okay, in hockey we're focusing on ankle mobility more, like knee dominance, hip dominance. Like, those are things that are very, very specific to hockey that might not be as specific for certain other sports. Like, does a baseball player use their hips as much as hockey players do? I don't think so. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But those are the types of things that you can start to get in the weeds on. But I don't think that's necessarily appropriate when you're, just started learning.
Right.
You don't have the base yet. You know, that's so.
Yeah. Yeah. So in hockey, the purpose is to train so you can perform at your best for during a game and throughout a season.
Yeah.
Right. So I just threw a few things down here. You got to work on your gas tank, which I think is number one. You agree? Number one. Dalton agrees it's number one. Your gas tank. Can I last? So if you're only doing a couple reps, short duration, if you haven't pushed yourself so that you're out of breath or you can't hold that capacity for a long time, you will not last in hockey. Not going to happen. You have to be able to last. The other thing you want to have is a base strength. Very, very important, because you got to be strong. You got to be able to have a little bit of a frame on you. You need to have speed. You need to have agility. You need to have power. Those are all different things.
Yep.
You need to have mobility. You need to have quickness. Then you need to be able to recover and prevent injuries. And it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, and you're not going to get that in a normal weightlifting program.
No, and so I think that what I wanted to do with this is I wanted to kind of lay out like a framework that kids or even trainers that don't really know how to address athletes specifically, what they can do. And like, for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you, but this is just my opinion. Like, people, if they think something else, maybe they think something else. This is just what I think. So if basically there's three components that you need to focus on when you're doing, and this is in the context of off-season training, but just training for hockey in general. First, like you said, capacity is number one. If you need to never get tired. That is the number one thing, because if you once you get tired, everything starts to break down.
You become mentally weak.
Yeah.
is like the next thing.
Yeah, because and
your decisions are bad.
Yeah, your decisions are bad. Your brain doesn't fire at the same rate. You're not thinking about things properly because you're just focused on how tired you are and you're trying to preserve. That's it. Yeah. So this is where like your form starts to break down, your efficiency starts to break down. All those things start to go if you don't have that ability to maintain whatever level you're at for a long period of time. So the first thing you need as a hockey player, in my opinion, is the capacity.
Yep.
And you agree, I'm sure.
100%.
So that's number one. Second thing, and this is the biggest thing, actually the capacity thing that, well, I'll get to that after, but second thing to me, most important after the capacity is like movement integrity, injury prevention, mobility stuff is number two for me.
Yep.
Because if your joints aren't strong, if your tendons aren't strong, if your ankle stability isn't strong, balance isn't good, then again, everything is going to start to break down. After that, you'll be able to maintain some level of structure for a period of time, but then those things are going to start to get tired. You're going to start to break down. You're going to start to get hurt. So
interesting point on that. So Charlie was doing an interview the other night, and they asked what, because the one person interviewing knew Dalton, played with him in the OHL someplace, and asked, did Dalton teach you anything in life? Like, you got anything that takeaways? And he goes, a million. I talk to Dalton every day. But one of the things he said was one funny one, but he goes, one of the things that might not seem that big of a deal, but he said, when you work out, make sure you take care of yourself so that you're preventing injuries every single workout, which you do very well in your training. Yeah, well,
because this, and it's so funny. Well, I will get to myself in a second because this is why I now know this. But then the third part, which people probably don't think, or maybe it's like you were saying before, a misconception, is the strength for me. Strength is third.
Yeah.
So of the three, those are basically the three pillars, and then you can get into a further breakdown of speed, agility, pad, those types of things. But the three main pillars is that capacity, mobility, injury prevention type work, and then strength is third.
Yeah.
And if you look at the NHL, or the top guys in the NHL, they actually follow that.
Yeah. 100%.
That type of training for themselves. So you look at a guy like McDavid. This guy can go forever, man. He can go at the end of the third period, have a quality rush that looks the same as if it was his first shift in the first period.
Yeah.
There's his capacity.
Yeah.
We talk about injury prevention. You're looking at the efficiency of that guy's stride, how he's pushing off, and the way that his skating structure is. Like, his knees are checked in, his ankles are checked in, his hips are in a good position. Like, all those types of things apply to him. Then you look at strength. Is that guy even close to the strongest guy in the NHL? Not a chance. Not a chance. So
but he's strong where he needs to be.
Strong where he needs to be. But in terms of like absolute strength, not even close. No. Not even close. No. He's not like a guy like Reeves. He's not like a guy or Tom Wilson, where these huge mammoth men. Yeah. But who's dominating the league? McDavid dominates the league.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's the rationale for why I weight things in that way, the 1, 2, 3, because the most dominant players seem to have that, in my opinion.
You're 100% right.
So the reason that I came up with this ranking too is for myself. I did it backwards. I did strength number 1, capacity number 2, and then mobility, injury prevention, integrity stuff number 3.
Yeah. And but to be fair, if you back off 10 years, 15 years, 20 years or more, I mean, everyone needed capacity. That's why even the dumbest guys in the NHL would go for 2-mile runs to get their hearts going. But the game has changed as well.
True.
So if you like back when I played in the 80s and 90s, is we had guys that couldn't skate. What they did is they get a hand on your stick in you, and it would just be that battle. So it was like speed. You still had to have speed. The better, if you could skate, the better off you were. But these Darian Hatchers and
you could just
big
be
guys
strong.
like that, they were just strong and no mobility. They couldn't play today. Couldn't do it.
And that's a super.
So that's
point.
The difference is like it's so important now. So like, like if I wasn't up to date on things and my son was working out, I would go my old school. This is what we did, and I'd get him to run and all that stuff. But get strong, son. Get strong. Don't be built like a fire truck, like a linebacker, not a linebacker, a running back. It doesn't work for hockey anymore.
Well, and the other part too is like that I try to relay to this kid. This is kind of a separate tangent, but because some of the kids, like I was even talking to Charlie, and he's because every kid does this. I did it. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna be so shredded like by the end of the summer and this kind of stuff. And maybe you will be
based on your body type, and your eating habits.
Yeah, exactly, right. Maybe you could be, maybe you would be, whatever. But what if it's not necessarily good for you to be that lean? So
Exactly.
so somebody like me, I naturally hold weight. Like I can put on weight. If I need to be the biggest, strongest guy, I could do that.
Yeah.
Because genetically I hold weight very
Yeah.
easily. Losing weight, I can lose it.
Yeah.
But when I get down to a certain body fat level, like when I'm approaching the 8%, whatever, even a little less, like I start to not feel as good.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily that it's because I'm in a deficit or anything eating wise. It's just at that level of body fat, I just don't feel optimal, even if I'm eating enough, even if I'm just eating to maintain, like I just don't feel as good.
Yeah.
And that's another thing you need to consider. So if you're somebody who has, they're heavier set, they have a bigger bone structure, you hold on to weight more easily, you have a higher body fat than your buddy who can run forever and never get tired.
Yeah.
That may not necessarily be something to do with your nutrition or training or whatever. That just could be where your genetic set point is, and it's better for you to be somewhere around that level.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean if you're a fat slob that's fine. That's not what that means.
Yeah.
It just means you need to tailor what you're doing to what is best for you. How do you feel and perform best?
Yeah.
That's what the difference is, and that's how you can get guys. And like I saw, I was watching, I don't know, it was a Sportsnet or whatever. And it was back when Anaheim was good, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
probably 09, 10, something like that.
And I remember seeing Ryan Getzlaf in the dressing room.
Yeah.
They just had like a shot of the room, whatever.
Yeah.
This guy looked like an absolute milk bag.
Yeah.
His arm was
Joe Thornton's not ripped at all.
Well, and this was the first time it dawned on me, like 09, 10. I was like, oh, this is the first time I saw. I was like, why don't these guys look like the guy on the front of Muscle Insider?
Yeah.
You know, his arm was like this, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thin.
Yeah.
Little twig.
Yeah.
Core didn't look like it was great, even though he was probably super strong core-wise, but just the look isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a common thing that people get hung up on is because you look good, that means you're in shape. It's like that's not what that means.
Yeah.
For hockey, that's not what that means. You know?
Well, I remember my first camp in junior, 16 years old. A guy came in, spent the summer in Switzerland, I think it was, with a trainer, doing hills and all these kinds of things. Like he had half of a Snickers bar at the end of the summer as his reward. And he came into camp and I'm like 6'3", big. And I'm like, I'm a 170 at best, 16. I'm going, wow. Guy couldn't play hockey a lick.
No.
Couldn't play a lick. So it doesn't matter.
Well, and then this is the next. So like
can I just jump in before you go to the next? Go. The other thing I was going to make a point on is the mobility in the piece of your second phase. Yeah. Is that when you're young, you actually shouldn't have or pay attention to this. If you're working out and the next day you got like your back is like, you're tweaking it and it's like sore, or your shoulders are like you're doing this and you're like things are always hurting.
Whatever, yeah.
You're probably not spending good quality time in your mobility.
Right.
And the point of working out is not to hurt yourself. The point is to actually increase strength. And your strength, you're only going to be so strong as you're going to be only as strong as your tendons will allow you to, and your mobility will allow you to. So like a simple thing, which looks kind of hard, but it's not that hard, is a Cossack squat. And if you can't do a Cossack squat properly, you should probably spend time doing that, because it's your hips, it's your alignment of your upper body, it's your ankle mobility, it's all kinds of different things. And it's not putting a whole bunch of weight on your back.
Yeah.
It's just so I would make sure, and guys, it might not seem like it's doing much for you, but your body will move functionally, if we can say that. Your body will move properly. And so like me being an older guy, like there's certain movements that I go to do, like for example, Cossack squats. My left side is just so much harder to get that done. Yeah. Because of wear and tear on my body. Yeah. I can't sink into it. Like my hip and knee doesn't even go out that well. So like how that transforms on the ice, if I am showing, which I hardly ever do, a 10-2 turn, because everyone likes to do 10-2s now. It's the way of the world. They're effective though, but I when I'm going to my right side, because my left doesn't push and my hips don't open as much as they should, it's like it's not even good. Yeah. But I noticed that transformation from the gym to the ice. Right. And so it's very important to have your hips and your knees and your ankles very mobile. Well, that's your ass.
Well, that's the point of what my issue was too, because I went strength, capacity, mobility. Yeah. And now I'm like 4 years out of playing, 3 years out of playing, and it's like, man, like my shoulders are always crunching. I can feel like the imbalances in my hips. I can feel the imbalances in my knees. I can feel all that stuff because I never put proper time into it.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't seem like it's important and at the time because it's not affecting you yet.
Yeah.
You don't know yet.
Yeah.
But if you're going down into a squat and your knees are shaking in when you're doing the squat, like your knees are weak, your ankle mobility isn't solid. Like those are things that are really key for hockey. And I remember being like so judgmental about when I was in my like teenage years really working out, because I was just like, let's go to the gym and just work, man. Like let's just push.
It's let's work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
let's sweat.
But then I would look at some of these guys that were doing like these band workouts and this stuff. And I'm like,
where's your purse?
Yeah. I'm like, that's not a workout.
Keep your bands in your purse.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not a workout, man.
No, but it is.
But it is.
Yeah.
And so again, for me, like, I think it doesn't have to be that complicated, but I think you need a good mix of both those things. And the problem is, I think for some guys, like they go full one way or full another way, where they're like only about mobility and stretch and all this, and they don't ever do any work.
100%.
So you can have both sides of that. So I don't know if you have another thing you want to throw in there.
The only thing I was going to say about the mobility is like, so for kids or even OHL junior guys, pros, you probably got this under their wrap. Take that time and spend, get your warm up in, and in your mobility. It's actually a lot of fun once you start getting going on it. It's actually fun, and you're going to build up a nice sweat. And sometimes it's actually very hard.
Yep.
And it pays dividends. Your body you're going to notice. So if you're not like me, I was like, oh God, it's embarrassing. But just doing a little bit, it does not take long to have your body start moving properly. If you spend, I'm talking 10, 15 minutes.
Yep. And
it's worth its weight in gold to do the mobility. I feel much better because my shoulders, like I'm fit. It's not like I'm young, but my shoulders, like they were crunching like crazy. My thoracic spine. Well, you remember a few years ago, my hips and I thought I was going downhill.
Yeah.
And then I spent time doing it. And then over the last year and a half, I've been doing more. And in the last year, I've been really doing it.
Yep.
And my body moves 100% better.
Yep.
So if a 52-year-old guy can get results out of this, and it's not hard, it's just patience.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of patience to get through the stuff that ain't sexy.
Right.
And mobility work is not going to get you the chicks at the beach. But as far as hockey goes, your performance will go up and your career will actually last longer. And if you do play in the NHL, you're not going to miss games as much because your body will be able to endure the long haul.
Yeah, well, and that's the question you have to ask when you go to the gym now, especially if you have something specific where like you need to be training, not just working out. You need to go there and be like, okay, what am I optimizing for? Like, what is the point of me coming here?
Yeah.
And you need to ask that question. It's an important question. So I want to walk through a little bit like how you can structure just a workout, especially off season, like kind of programming. I'm just going to go along.
That's what I was going to ask you. I said, because we're starting in May. We're in May right now.
Yep.
And I was going to say, this is basically capacity time.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and let's walk through the summer.
Yeah. So I think, and I'm going to try to keep it as easy as possible because there's no, like, again, you don't have to complicate things. If you just hit these kind of things, generally speaking, then you'll figure out how you can specify better tailor towards you as you get older or more developed, whatever. But the way that I have it broken up for this summertime, the way that we came up with was we do it in 4 phases where you have 4 different goals for each phase.
Yeah.
So keeping it super easy, we're doing a month each. So that's 4 months, which is a summer. Perfect. So you got your off season. There's the time that you have. So in the first month, you got to think like the off season's a long time. We have 4 months of work. So does it make sense to go right in and do a beat down in May? Probably not.
Right.
It's probably not the best way to do it. So like we were talking about just now is you focus on your capacity work. You focus on your body preparation, joint integrity, movement integrity, structural work.
Yep.
And then you do a bit of your strength stuff. So everything should be tailored towards that, having that capacity and being able to lift correctly. So you're preparing your body for what's going to come in the rest of the summer. When things do get more intense and you start to really ramp up on the ice, off the ice, and that kind of stuff. So a good way that you can structure this too, just like real quick in terms of your workout, is have a block for doing straight capacity type work, whether that's you get on a bike for 10 minutes, you skip for 10 minutes, you do a combination of stuff like that for 10 minutes where you're just elevated heart rate, you keep it moving for that long. That's a great start. Yep. Then you go into your preparation type stuff where you're doing a little bit of like more plyometric type of things with adequate rest, though. It's not supposed to be a beat down. It's just like working on making sure you have like good force absorption in your knees and your ankle stability is good, and you're working on a little bit of quickness, like those types of things. And then you can get into your strength and core work at the end. And that's a way that I like how we structured it this and for the summer, because especially the mobility stuff, it's hard for kids to want to do that because you feel like you're wasting time. That's what I used to think. If I'm going to spend 25 minutes doing mobility, like I feel like I'm wasting my time. Like the bang for your buck, even though it's good, it doesn't seem like it is.
Yep.
So the way that we just came up with that's a nice structure is you do like a 3 exercises per block where you'll go like let's say you're doing a leg day. So you do a 2-leg movement, single leg movement, and then some kind of mobility movement.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, within the workout.
So you're
not separate from itself.
Exactly. So you're doing like let's say it's an A block where you have a A1, A2, A3, which meaning you do A1, A2, A3, then you rest.
Yeah.
A1, A2, A3, then you rest.
Yeah.
That's what that means. So you would do a 2-leg movement, single leg movement, and then some kind of mobility work where you're hitting everything you need for a hockey player. You're getting your strength on that 2-legged movement. Then you're getting
so just to break that down, a 2-legged movement for people, because some people are,
true. Yep.
they have oatmeal north of the eyebrows. No, just don't know.
Yeah.
So 2-legged movement would be like a squat.
Yeah.
Or a deadlift or a box jump.
Yep. Those are your 2 legs. So boom, 2-leg movement. Then you go to your single leg, because most of the stuff you're doing on the ice is going to be a single leg. You're pushing off each stride or whatever, quick changes of directions. Most of the force will be coming off of one leg.
Yeah. So let's go with a rear foot elevated split squat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Using one leg.
Exactly. Split squat, single leg, deadlift, something where you're just using one.
Yeah.
And then you go to your mobility stuff where you're just doing whatever it is, 5 reps each leg. If you're doing a leg mobility type thing, or 5 legs, or 5 reps each arm if you're doing an upper body mobility. But if you're doing a leg day, so you do your squat, let's say your first movement, split squat for your second movement, and then your third movement you'll go to like a slow Cossack squat, or like a lateral lunge. That's what a Cossack.
Well,
Cossack
like a skater's lunge. Yeah.
Skater's lunge, hip lift, or something where you're doing like something slow, no weight, not a lot of load on you, and you're just working on range of motion type of stuff.
Specific muscle.
Exactly. So actually, one of the ones that we did, we were doing yesterday that I really like is a step down.
Yep.
So
just deceleration.
Yeah. Right. So you're working on. And so what a step down is you're on something inclined, like a box or a plate or something. It doesn't have to be super high, just a few inches off the ground, and you're just going from a high knee and just landing on one foot. So you keep your one foot on the block, and then you're landing on one foot. So you're trying to catch yourself. Yeah. So you have to track through your ankle, you have to track through your knee, and do it in a nice controlled way where you're slowing yourself down. Huge.
Yeah, and it's a really like the a lot of people don't understand why decelerating is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your change of direction. So if you're going hard, you've had to put the brakes on and go the other way, or your lateral movements, making a move on a player and you load up on one leg, your deceleration is what's going to do the work, not your acceleration.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to slow yourself. It's like if you can think of a spring, right? When you're skating and if you change directions, you load that spring so that you can explode.
Yeah.
And when you do your deceleration stuff, you want to be very controlled when you do that.
Yeah.
So you should be able to jump off. As you progress, you should be able to come off like a 6-foot block. Let's say when you land, you should be landing nice and soft.
On pillows.
Like a couple, like you're on pillows.
Mm-hmm.
And the better the athlete is, the better that they can do that. And that transfers onto your sport incredibly well.
Think about how applicable that is. Like you said,
Yeah.
you're trying to catch yourself.
Yes.
You need to be able to catch yourself.
Yeah.
And all of that is all that stupid stuff that you don't think is important. It's all like your knee joints, it's your ankle joints, it's mobility and range of motion type stuff. Like all of that is so important when you're doing something as quick and all those direction changes at high speeds like you are in hockey. That's very specific.
So just for people that don't have our gym, or they maybe they have a really shitty gym at home and they think I can't do it, you can. So just to take that first block that you had, squats. Okay, I don't have weights. What do I do? Squat. Yeah, just squat.
Just squat.
But you can get creative. You can throw something on your back, or you could have dumbbells, or you could hold a tire. You could, if you don't have that, a sandbag, or just put something on your back or in your hands that create a little bit of resistance. You can do that, and then if it's still kind of easy, do your deceleration or your eccentric phase slowly.
Yeah.
And then do your explode up. So that would be a squat. If you wanted to get to the one-legged stuff, you can do skater jumps, or you put your back foot on a bench and you do your one-legged squats, rear elevated squats. So you can do it. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Anybody
you
can do
add
it.
And that's a great point too, is you can add tempo to anything.
Yeah.
Right? You can slow it down, take 3 seconds to get to the bottom of your squat.
Isn't it funny though? When people come in and they're doing bench, let's say, because everyone loves a good bench or a squat, and they go, "Oh man, I could do." It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could squat 350, no problem. They get it on there and they're going up and down. It's halfway through. Yeah. And this is typical. And they're going. The tempo isn't there. And then we'll go, okay, hang on. Let's take off these plates. Yeah. And now I want you to go down for 4 seconds. Yeah. Like literally 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the time they get to the 4. Some of them, their knees are popping out and their spleen's coming out their left eye. Yeah, because it's so hard, because you're actually working the muscles for time under tension.
Right. And this maybe finishing up the first block here. So this is what we said, phase 1, we're working on capacity stuff. You do that block of 3 exercises. Everything that we are doing right now in the phase of May is super high rep. Yeah. And so what I was watching the guys working out yesterday, what happens is you start to get tired and then you start to speed up. Yep. You start to speed up. And so the nice thing about tempo.
So what Eric means by speeding up means getting through it. So you're trying to get the pace out so you don't have
fast
to be under the tension for that long.
Right, fast reps. So what I say to the guys, because again, it's not supposed to be a beat down right now. So I say make sure you're taking 1 second to go down, 1 second to go up. Nice controlled rep. And the nice thing about the tempo is it forces you to be slow and controlled, but instead of it just being a strength workout, now you're slowing down, so you have to engage all of your knees, your joints, your hips, your ankles. All of that stuff needs to be controlled. Yeah. So you're getting indirect work on those stability muscles, all those little things that you need, especially for when you're skating. You get all of that when you slow things down and you're doing it in a controlled way. Yeah. So that's especially when it's super high rep, when you're going to be gassed and you're forced. It forces you to still hold that integrity as you're doing your rep down and up, right? So even if it's something as simple as a squat where it's just 2 legs, seems like there's nothing to it, you do 12 to 15 reps, because that's what we're doing for ours, 12 to 15 reps of everything, or 10 to 12 of everything, and go with tempo. 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up. And it forces you to stabilize yourself till the very end when you're gassed, when you're running out of juice and your heart's firing at rep 13, you know? So that's what the whole goal of that first month is, right? Yeah. So, did you have anything else for that for the first one?
No. So again, if you don't have weights, you don't have stuff at home, just you don't cap yourself out at 12, because if you don't have the weights, you go more. You just go till you're like really tired.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, don't complicate. You feel lactic acid in your legs, and then back off. Yeah.
So going to the second phase of that now, so this would be June. So the month of June, let's say. So you got 4 weeks. So you get 4 weeks of each, right? And I keep the workouts, we do 4 days a week, and I keep the workout the same for all 4 weeks. Yeah. So you have time to see a progression on yourself. I'm not a big fan of, this is my personal opinion, I'm not a big fan of changing everything every week. Like I like to be able to see for a period of time, whether it's 2-4 weeks, to be able to see some progression before you switch everything.
Yeah. Now there's different people. It's like, so we're talking for the purpose of not being a pro right now. But even then, your body, some people, when they become Olympic athletes or they become high-end athletes and they got the best trainers in the world, and they do actually muscle samples and the blood tests, and they know everything about your body. Some people do actually adapt to a change every time they work out, but you do want your muscles to have some memory and to develop some neural pathways. And so you stick at your pattern for a little while and learn how to do it properly and master it.
Yeah, and that's why I like that, because at least for 4, if you're tracking, because I make the guys track what weights they're using and that kind of stuff, so you get to see some progression in what you're doing. You get to feel yourself. If you do the same mobility exercise twice a week for 4 weeks, you'll get to see, hey, I feel like I'm stabilizing better, and that's just a nice mental thing to have. So that's why I prefer
Very
that.
important. I agree.
So, but yeah, it's
nice to see like a kid say, okay, I've spent 4 weeks doing this, and my squat did go from 135 pounds with really good form to 155, and I feel stronger and better. Right. So it's a reward.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. We'll give them a bit of a reward by the end of their phase, right? So then we go to the second phase, and we're doing just like kind of raw strength in our second phase. Yeah. But what we are never getting rid of for all 4 phases, but we're never getting rid of the capacity work. Yeah. We're never getting rid of the body preparation integrity type of work that you're doing at the start.
Yeah.
So same thing at the start, you're going 10 minutes, whatever, of some kind of capacity work where your heart is elevated, whether you want to go run for 10 minutes, bike, whatever combination, keep your heart rate up for 10 minutes.
And we're talking up.
Yeah. Like people don't know what numbers mean, but like 140 to 170 heart rate, which would be like you're maintaining 80%, 85, maybe 85 might be a bit high, but around 80% capacity, you're maintaining that for the whole time. And 80% would be of what, like, your perceived effort. So whatever 100% is, like, I'm not saying like 100% of like a 1 rep maximum of what you can do. I'm saying like 80% of I'm trying 80% of what I could try today. That's kind of what that means. Then after that, you're doing your same kind of body preparation type stuff. So maybe a little bit of plyometrics, a little bit of like speed work, whether it's like sprint starts or that kind of stuff. Then you go into your strength now. So this is where we start to drop the reps a bit and get into a little bit heavier loads. But this is another thing that I wanted to touch on too today is strength training for hockey. Like, and I want you to talk about this too, is going somewhere towards like a 1 rep max, like training at super, super low rep. For me, like that's not something that I subscribe to really. Like, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think there's a point to it. And I just think you're asking to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just find if you have to have the confidence that you can do it. Number one. So if you're like, I mean, we're talking a lot of leg stuff because we're hockey players. You need your legs. So it is really impressive if you can 1 rep max 500 pounds. I mean, that's a lot of weight. Well, obviously I'm exaggerating here, but if you're like, so a young guy, if you're getting 250, 300 pounds on a bar and you can do it for 1 rep, it's good, but you're going to have to ask yourself, or the trainers have to be right on top of, did you do it properly? And if you do one little thing off that tweaks your back, tweaks a knee, tweaks an ankle, it's not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So I like to take it for sure down to like 3 to 4 reps where you're not have to be totally 100% focused and potentially dangerous. I don't know. The bottom line is you only have to be so strong anyways. You need to be as strong as you can, but you don't have to push the limits of your absolute strength. Well,
and this is the point, right? Like, so we're training for hockey. We're not training for you to go to the Olympics and try to clean a 1 rep max. Like, that's not why we're training.
So strongman,
so you don't,
or a lineman on the line that has to get up, or an offensive line that has to get up quick and block a guy like fast and hard.
Exactly.
It lasts a second.
For 1 second, exactly.
That's not what we do.
So it's not I don't think it's a necessary component of what a good off-season training program should have. Like, and if, like you were saying, if you're going to go for a 1 rep max, like, you better be sure, like, you got people there watching, making sure you're doing it okay. You have safety measures in place so you're not hurt, especially for the young guys that they're so excited to see how much they can lift and whatever. And you're just asking for something to go wrong. So I just don't think it's a necessary thing. But so for that second phase, you're going now in that strength block, you're kind of going lower the reps down. So for me, we're working somewhere between still like around 8 reps for strength. I'm not even going lower than that. And then you're pairing that with some kind of like contrast stuff where you're doing some kind of explosive move. So you'll go nice, like, for example, you have a squat, and then you go right from a squat to like a box jump, where you're going slow squats, good tempo. And this one I'm slowing it down. I'll make them go like for a 2 second down or whatever, and then go to do 5 box jumps, nice, quick, boom, explosive. And then at the end, you're still finishing off with like a little bit of your core stuff, or a little bit of a finisher, Tabata interval, whatever at the end.
So basically what you're doing there is when you're doing the strength piece where your weight's a little bit heavier and you're doing a slow tempo, as hockey players, we want to be able to turn that back onto fast. So that's what the contrast is because we never want to make ourselves slow. So the contrast training, what that simply means is that when you squat, you've exhausted those muscles, but then we go to like a split jump, 10 split jumps or box jumps or quick feet stuff that to tell your body or your brain and your muscles to say, okay, fast again. So and they're tired fast. So it's,
and think about why that makes sense too, right? But I know you know this, but on the ice, that's exactly what happens. You're exhausted, but then loose puck, and you got to get it out of your end. Got to go quick. So that's kind of why that contrast thing is appropriate for athletes, but hockey in particular. So that's how you would go for, just obviously very general framework for like a second phase. So that would be like your month of June. Right. And then do you have anything else to put up for that strength part?
Just like, guys, as hockey players, listen, it's the hardest thing to do, especially when you're young. Don't worry about your weight. Like, worry about, no. improve your weight. Like, you should be striving that every time you work out, you're adding some weight, if providing you're doing it properly. But we're not talking ridiculous amounts. We're talking percentages.
Yeah.
And Charles Poliquin had a rule of thumb that every workout, if you train properly, you should be able to put 4 to 5% more weight on. You should be 4 to 5% more stronger.
Yeah.
So you're looking at progressively getting stronger, but not ridiculously. But your strength is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how heavy the bar is or how heavy
your
the weights
absolute
are.
strength does not
It
matter.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Absolute meaning the total amount you can lift doesn't matter. Your relative strength is important. Like, how much can you lift relative to your size, and then in proportion to other people that are around you.
Yeah.
In terms of you battling with them.
Yeah.
If you have that in check, like, man, there's some guys that I played with, like my one buddy I talked about, the nature guy. He's substantially shorter than me, weighs substantially less. In the gym, doesn't lift a ton of weight.
Yeah.
Not even close, actually.
Right.
This is one of the strongest guys. He was one of those guys where you go hit him in the corner and you're like out of breath.
Yeah.
Like, it knocks the wind out of you to hit him, because just core strength is so there. His center of gravity can get so low and really explode into you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of strength that's important. It's not the weight that you have on the bar. So it's really easy to get caught up on that, though, because I know I did that a ton.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? The guys at school, and so the other side of this is that when you go, it's so different, right?
So different.
This is so different. Charlie and I were having a conversation about and with Mom the other day about his friends are changing. Not changing, just he can't hang out with his old friends anymore. Not because he doesn't want to, but it's because it's not productive anymore, right?
It just doesn't line up.
It doesn't line up, and it's actually in a book I'm reading. It's like what happens on your route to success or on your route to a goal. It's eliminated because you don't have time to waste and stuff. But I wasn't going exactly there. What I was saying on this is that when you're actually a performance athlete looking for results, like if you go to a normal gym, or your buddies at school might be getting, some of them might be taking some needles to look big and stuff, and they're training in a whole different way. So, it's a lonely road. It's a lonely road, man, to get to the top. It's lonely because you're different. A lot of these guys will be looking at, and you'll be sitting at the thing going, we're talking about weights, how much you bench, how much of this, and it's like the cool thing to talk about, but it has absolutely nothing to do with your life at all.
Well, and it's funny because they come in and they're always talking or mentioning guys that they think are like taking juice, or they're taking SARMs or like something like that. And they don't even know what the stuff is or what it does or whatever, but it's just the ego, man. It's just who's the biggest guy at school. And that's a thing that it'll be in your head. It was in my head all through high school. Like, you want to be a big, strong, ripped guy. Yeah. But you have to keep in mind, like, what is the goal again, right? And it comes back to what you always talk about with purpose. Like, what are you trying to do? Yeah. Actually, are you just trying to be the biggest and the strongest in the gym and look the best and have the most abs and whatever? Or are you trying to be really good at hockey? Which thing are you trying to do?
That's right.
And that's what you need to keep in mind when you're doing these workouts. So if you're not going for your 1 rep max squat, like, don't be mad at your trainer, don't be mad at your program or think your program sucks or whatever, because you don't get to see how much you can squat.
That's right.
It's like you have to keep it in context of what you're trying to do. That's right. And that's a huge difference, like you're saying, between what kids are doing here and there. But
so no, I'm done with that piece.
Okay, so then third phase, 2 more. So this would be July now. Yeah. So now we're starting to get closer to when we're really starting to get on the ice or preparing for training camp or whatever. Yeah. So we got 2 months before training camp, basically. Yeah. So now we're starting to take that strength and we want to apply it to some more dynamic type movements, athletic movements. So the way that we have it structured, again, we're not getting rid of the capacity work. We're not getting rid of the integrity movement type stuff, speed work at the beginning of the workout. So you got your 10 of your capacity, your 10, 15 of your structure type stuff and quickness, movement type stuff. Then you go into your strength block again. So reps are going to stay somewhat low, still around like 6-8 reps, still keeping it low. And then we're pairing those with like athletic specific type movements, right? So things that when you talk about functional, like moving functionally, like that's what we're talking about. So when you do a squat, it's not that a squat isn't a functional movement, but it's like you're not doing a strict squat on the ice ever. Like that's not what you're doing. You're going to be in a squat type position, but not exactly that. Yeah. So this is where you'll pair something like a squat with like a skater lunge with load now though. Yeah. So you're doing a dynamic movement that has load with it. So that, or something like a sled push, something where you're forced to move athletically, use your athleticism with a strength movement. So this is, again, could be a contrast type thing, or you could slow it down and do something that's more more static, whatever it is. But pairing those two types of things, so a strength movement, something that's heavier, and then putting it with something athletic. Well, it could be like a landmine, like a split jerk with a landmine, or a twisting press with a landmine, or something like that.
Yeah.
And those that's the same kind of thing as you were doing in the previous phase with the contrast, but now you're making it more athletic. Get your athleticism up now. So all this stuff we've been working on the whole summer, where you're working on your joint integrity, your movement quality, all of that, now we're applying it to something with under load, when you're tired, under those kind of circumstances.
Yeah.
And then same thing, you're finishing off again with some kind of interval stuff now, where you're getting a little bit more intensity to the end of the workout. So that's kind of what that third phase would be in July. I don't know if you have anything to throw on.
No, I don't. That's pretty self-explanatory. You're just doing things heavy.
Yeah, perfect. So then last phase, real quick. Now we're getting into the season type mentality, where we got to get ready for camp. So now it's about intensity, because intensity is the name of the game when you're actually playing in the game. Everything's going to be high, hard. So now what we're going to do is we're going to taper back the strength work and the actual in the gym, like lifting type stuff. And we're going to be ramping up the capacity intensity work that you're going to be doing, whether it's sprinting or at the track, on the hill. A lot of running stuff is basically what it's going to turn into. So what we do is we taper back from 4 days a week till 2 days a week in the gym lifting. So it's going to be like a pull day and a push day. And then on your Monday and Friday, you're doing a hill day and a track day. So your maintenance work on your Tuesday, Thursday, the lifts, again, a little bit of capacity, but now you're doing tapering way back on the intensity, like the strength stuff. Now we're just going for maintenance. Like, we just want to maintain what we built, but we're still keeping the integrity, working on our injury prevention type of stuff, doing that for 2 days a week. But the focus of that phase, and this would be August now, would be the Monday, Friday, where you're trying to go hard, fast, quickness, right? So if we did like a hill day on a Monday, do some hill sprints, right? Where you're going 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards, whatever. Ramp it up, doing different types of starts. Start from an athletic position, bursting up, take a good rest, burst up, take a good rest. Same thing at the track. You're working on some changing directions, but all under that quickness, sprinting type of stuff. And then obviously keeping the capacity work up, where you're doing like a tempo, some kind of tempo run or something to finish off or to start. Yeah. So the only thing I'll say before I throw it over to you again for that is making sure when you're starting to go into that higher intensity, close to sprint type stuff, make sure you're ready to start doing that type of work. Don't just show up at the track and go right into your sprints. Like, you want to make sure you're doing a good warm up. You're nice and loose. Your joints are loose. All your muscles are nice and loose. You have worked into your range of motion in your hips, ankles, all that, so you're not tweaking something.
Yeah, you want to be really warmed up for this stuff, like really warmed up, because when you go from cold to like a all-out sprint, that's bad things could happen. You got your Achilles, you got your ankles, you got your hamstrings, you got little tears can happen. So you want to be warmed right up. And when you're doing quality speed work like that, make sure that you have a sufficient time. You want to be fresh when you're doing this. You don't want to be, when you're doing the speed work, when you're working on speed, you're working on speed. So it's a short quality of time that you want to be able to put 100% of your effort in. So if you're coming back and it's, you do a sprint and then you come back and you're still out of breath and stuff, no. Yeah,
it's not time. Well, and that's a really good point. It's not a beat down. It's not. No. This isn't like a capacity.
It actually seems weird,
right?
Like, so for a contrast to that is like guys at gyms, like in the old bodybuilding world, I could never work out like that, because they'll do like when the hypertrophy stuff, like they'll work out and they'll do their reps and rest literally for 5 minutes. Yeah, I couldn't work out like that. Yeah, but when you're doing the quality speed work, you're actually, your rest ratio to work is it seems like, well, when do I get to do the work? But the work is in the quality.
Yeah. When I think normally when you're doing speed, like if you're trying to get fat, like that is such a common question I get. How do I get faster? Like how do I get more quickness? Like how do I improve my takeoff speed? Like that kind of stuff. Yeah. You need the rest to do that. Yeah. It's not a beat down. It's not the same as doing a capacity where you're maintaining and you're going to feel like you have to throw up at the end. That's not the point of it. It's not supposed to be a crazy intensity thing. Yeah. It's supposed to be intense for the time you're going. Yes. But your rest is supposed to be adequate. So if a common range they'll give is like people that have studied this stuff will give like a 1 to 4 to a 1 to 8 work to rest ratio. Yeah. right? So that means if you're going for a 5-second sprint, if it takes you 5 seconds to run whatever amount of meters, you should be resting for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
So by the time you get back, sit, like you have to let it marinate, get yourself ready to go so you can be 100% output on that. And then the other thing I was going to say, just as I'm saying 100% output, when you're doing sprint work, for me, I always like to take a hair off the top of that too. Like I never say 100%. I'll always say like 90, maybe a 95, but always taking just a touch off the top, because that's another one of those things, like a 1 rep max.
I agree.
I don't think it's necessary.
If you're not properly warmed up, if you, one little thing, you know, hockey players, and not just hockey players, athletes, people, I'm the worst for it. If I got something wrong with me, I try to muck through it. No matter what.
Oh yeah.
And when you're doing something as high, as hard as speed work, if you've got a little tweak somewhere and you think you're going to muck through it, that might be the worst thing you've ever done in your life.
Yeah.
So same with me when I sprint. I don't think I can go 100 anymore.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm going to go hard where it's like I'm pushing hard, but like if someone's racing beside me and they got a little on me, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to push.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that's...
I'll hurt myself.
I don't think it's worth...
I told you that one guy that did it with me, right?
Yeah, I remember.
The guy.
Came to the track, yeah.
He was a track guy too, and he wanted to run with me. Oh, that'll be cool. And I said, dude, I'm not...
When you said he hadn't run in like 15 years
No, he's ran... Like he did some running. He kept himself a little bit of shape. Like he ran, but it's not the same, and it's...
Yeah, like
and
not to be top end.
Right, and not to be Joe freaking hero here, but I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, dude,
you're just gonna jump in on sprints.
So after 2 or 3, he goes, let's go, and I'm like, dude, don't. And he snapped her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt bad for him, but I mean,
well, that's why that stuff's important. But that's why for my philosophy is like that though, because I don't think it's necessary that you're going absolutely all out in training. Like I don't think that's necessary to do to get the result that you need. That's just my opinion on it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I like again, the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So you hit your fastest pace ever, but you don't have a hamstring for the next 6 months. Great.
Well, yeah, and because we're not doing this for you to be a runner.
Yeah,
like you're not
a fighter, right? You're not going in the sparring to actually
get smacked in the head.
I'm fighting Conor McGregor next week, but I want you to hit me as hard as you can, as off as you can. Kick me in the balls if you want. I like that.
Yeah, let's do a real fight. Let's do a full-on fight to prepare.
Get used to it, but it's like you go just a little bit under.
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of wraps up kind of what the point of. So just like as a summary, you go, we have a 4-month, 4 phases.
Yeah.
One month you're going capacity, high rep, higher rep. Work on getting your ticker up, working on the integrity of your movements. Then you're going to more of a raw strength, dynamic strength, and then finishing the summer off in the 4th month with some more intensity stuff, and that should get you set to go to your training camp and whatever. So I hope that was helpful.
No, it's very helpful. It's
good
very
framework.
good. I think it was a good framework for people, and then I would just add to that, like when you're, and I think I've done this before, but when you take the skills on the ice, because it's important, we're hockey players, not track athletes or bodybuilders, so we have to get ourselves on the ice too. So break my phases up real quickly here. It's May right now, so once the season is over and you got April, May, and there needs to be a time to cool the jets a little bit. But when you're going to train, you're training with a purpose again. The first month, like so, let's say May to June, even parts of June, you're working on technical stuff. Yeah. To go out there and do a beat down is absolutely pointless. Your body's already beat down from the wintertime. Mm-hmm. So I know this is a different year for a lot of people, but this is how it should be anyways. Is you're working on your stick handling and skating technique and mechanics. You're shooting mechanics and technique. It's a slower pace, but it's like your brain is involved as much as your body is. Yeah. Then as you go into June-ish, July-ish, you're going to start picking a little bit of more pace up, but you're still doing skill work. Skill work has a little bit more pace. You might even be including some fun cross ice or some scrimmaging or whatever you want to call it. That would be important. But then once you get into July and August, the technical stuff is kind of gone. Now you're going game pace, right, as much as you can, and a little bit more frequent with the games. And then as you're getting into camp, it's like basically zero skill work except for a little bit of, the warm-up drills, or maybe once a week you're doing some good skill stuff. But at that point, it really isn't needed, and you're playing game-like and trying to get up in game shape as much as possible. It's pretty much that simple.
Yeah, for sure.
But the hard part is for people to slow it down
Yeah.
Because there's a misconception that if you're not sweating real hard and out of breath, that you're not doing anything, but it's totally wrong, right? It's like the prep work. It's like you have to do the mobility work and the hockey prep work. So it's the same as on the ice. Slow it down, let your brain and your muscles sort things out, learn about each other again and get good and have that deliberate practice so your skill level goes up. And then as the months go on, that the pace of it goes up and you're doing things at high speed. But work on technical stuff. It's a time to work on your weaknesses.
Well, and one of the things that I remember Dalton was saying when he was on here, one of the or if you asked him if he could go back and do it again, what would he change or what would he do? And he said, like, nothing really, because I did what I thought was right at the time. But knowing what he knows now, he wouldn't overtrain, which is an interesting thing to say, right? So nobody says, like, no trainers ever say you should be going top speed or 100% output 7 days. Like, no one says that.
Not a good trainer.
Yeah, no one ever says that.
Right.
And you shouldn't.
Right.
So that doesn't mean you shouldn't do something every day, because you can do that.
Yeah.
But you have to have some intelligence about what you're doing. So if you have 4 days a week where you got some intense work, you have 3 other days where you can slow down and maybe focus more on, like, more technical things.
That's right.
Or you can focus more on movement quality, or things that are like low rep, low load, where you're focusing on making sure your knees are steady, or really focusing on your stick handling technique. Like, that's where that kind of plays in. So what I wanted to wrap into that too is a point of confusion a lot of times, especially for the young guys going into, like, junior, when they have a lot of camps and tryouts, is how do you prioritize off season in the gym training versus off season on the ice training?
Sorry, during the season?
No, off season.
Okay.
So in the off season, so like for the guys we got here, they have their off season program that they need to be doing in the gym.
Yeah.
So that means 4 days a week, I need them to be in the gym, and I need them to be ready to work out in the gym. But if they have the choice to go skate 4 times that week as well, how do they balance? Like, how do they prioritize which thing they should be focused on, or where they should put most of their effort? So I want to get your thoughts, because I have my own opinion.
Here's my thoughts. First of all, you have to be intelligent. This is something I say all the time, is that don't just go get ice to get ice. Don't go train with someone just to train someone. So what I would say is, your off ice is as or more important, because you need to get in proper shape. This is caveat that you want to go somewhere with hockey, if you know, and you have something that you're shooting for.
Always, it's always.
That's so that you got to understand that. If not, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But so your off ice is important. But so when you go to train with someone, or you're going to get ice, it absolutely needs to be at a slower pace. That's it. It's that simple. So if your trainer's got 17,000 different toys on the ice, and it's go, because that's what most people do, and they're like yelling at you to go harder, you're not accomplishing. You're defeating the purpose in the gym. So what you're doing is you're having an exercise in futility. You're driving yourself nuts. You know, you're not going to get.
And you're going to burn out.
You're going to burn out. You're not going to get ahead of the game. Yeah. So part of it's an old saying that I forgot how it goes. No, I don't. I was just thinking of what it is. I've got a couple of these, but if you give a guy, tell a guy to chop a tree down. I think Abraham. I think it's Abraham Lincoln that said this.
Okay.
If you give me 4 hours to chop a tree down, I'm going to take 3 hours to sharpen the axe.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's true. Like the prep work, and the other thing I said the other day is keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And when it comes down, you have to look at your seasons like this, and you have to prioritize what's the most important thing. Your off season, you have to get in the proper shape, and then your hockey should coincide with that. And the way we've got ours laid out is, if you're skating with us, it's exactly that. You're going to work real hard right now in the gym, and then if we're on the ice, which we aren't, we would be on the ice doing more technical stuff. Yeah. And it works together. Yeah. And then as we go to the next month, it's going to just change a little bit and match up, and so that you're ready to go.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. For our visual learners, I think it starts kind of like gym in terms of the importance, gym, ice. Yeah. So when you're right out of your season, you take your time off, and as you start to get back in training, I think the gym stuff is the priority in terms of where most of your physical effort goes into. That doesn't mean you neglect on the ice, focusing on your technical work. That's not what that means. But in terms of your output of how much effort you're giving physically to the task.
Yeah.
More goes to the gym than to the ice. And then as the summer progresses, it starts to switch where by August, you're prioritizing your on-ice intensity as opposed to the workout intensity.
I got a statement or a comment or something as well. Because it's a weird year. And most people would say that, yeah, okay, but I haven't really played a lot of hockey this year. Ontario, we're talking about, it's pretty much North America. You haven't played a lot, so would you say go and play games? Or would you say maintain this schedule? So I'm not stupid, but I'm not that smart. I like saying it like that. But of course, if you have a chance to go play some hockey right now, out of pure passion, go play games.
Yeah, go have fun.
Go have some fun, dudes. Like, go have a blast. You need to go get that out of your system. But having said that, a lot of people think, Zach Cassian told me this. He goes, you know, Andy, all these years, I always thought that maybe I was doing it wrong. Like, you know, the go get into play scrimmages and all that stuff. He goes, but you know what? Like the shit that we do, the skill work, like it gets you back in shape. It takes me about two days to get back in, not NHL game shit, but to get the feel to play in a game.
Yeah.
It's all the little things that make all the difference in the world. So I'm going to say to the kids, because my son was worried about it, and I was worried for him and all the kids. It's like, okay, so if you're going to be off, like in this COVID thing, there was 4 months. They were off the ice for 4 months. It's a long time. But I look at it, I told them, I said, there's guys that get injured that are off for 6, 9, 12 months, and they come back and they're pretty good hockey players still, or you would know the difference. Yeah. When I played hockey, we didn't have ice from April till August. It's a long time without ice, and it turned out to be just fine. If you do athletic stuff like off the ice, it's going to be good, but you're going to catch up. My point is, you're not going to fall behind unless you do nothing.
Right.
So my son was going through the thing this year, and he was a little worried. So when he came back the first time, Eric Wellwood hadn't seen him skate, I don't think, ever. So he was on the ice, and he heard my son's a really good player. Well, he went on. He grew a couple inches. So he was like hitting the 6 foot mark, and he was doing really athletic stuff. He went on the ice, and I even went, oh my God, he's terrible. Like, he's not a good skater right now. He looked like his body was like, I'm like, what the hell? And I was pretty sure it would straighten itself out and stuff, and it did.
Yeah,
it was like 2 weeks later, he started getting it back, and by within a month, he was as good. Well, no, he was twice the hockey player he was when he finished the season. And everybody will be the same way.
Yeah.
So as much as you want to get back on the ice, and it's going to, I get it, but you don't have to go crazy because it's going to come back.
Yeah.
It's going to come back.
Well, it's even like I said a few episodes ago, I was talking about when I have to jump on the ice to do a session training.
Yeah.
Like I haven't actually played in 3 or 4 years now.
Right.
And I have all of it. I can still shoot. I can still stick handle. I can still skate. So it's not like it's going to go away. Yeah. You know,
and even for me, if like I'm like an old man, if I'm off, like I'm going to be off for a month and a half.
Yeah.
On being on the ice.
Yeah, seriously.
If I go on there and it's like a couple minutes and then it's like kind of back at it. Not a big deal.
Yeah, it's baked into your brain, you know?
Yeah. So you're going to be fine. And don't neglect, like, keep the first things first. And if it's for you, like, guys, like, obviously for you, if you just want to play hockey to have fun and and you're just hoping for the best, if something comes out of it, that's one thing. Yeah. But if you're actually sitting there and you say, I've got some talent, I think I can play in the OHL or get my school paid for, I want to be a pro, you have to do it the right way. And you will be fine. You will be fine. Yeah. There's no, like, the biggest thing that people do is they look, and I've just seen this all the time. This guy is doing that. Andy told me this, or Zach Cassian told me this, but that guy's doing that. I got to do what he's doing, or else he's going to get ahead. He's not. I'm telling you, he's going to burn himself out. I've seen it thousands of times.
Yeah, for sure.
Not 100 times, thousands of times. Yeah. No exaggeration. Yeah. People think they're right, and they're not right.
Yeah. And it's hard, man, because it's hard to taper back and think, like, less is more sometimes, you know. But
it's hard for, like, I told you this, right? When because you gave me some good advice, and because I've got that mentality more and more and more and more. It's never enough. Yeah. And you when you said you should probably do more cardio now and just do less lifting, but still lift, but spend your bulk of your time. And I'm like, So I felt like I wasn't doing nearly as much, but my results were better.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's funny.
Weird.
Well, it's because it's funny when you listen to people that are really knowledgeable. They talk about like lifting 3 times a week, 4 times a week, not 7, not 12 times a week. you know?
I know.
So it's a funny
3-4 hours a week.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's just funny. And then so last thing I'll say, wrapping up here too, is with all this stuff, on ice, off ice training, everything, you have to make sure that you prioritize your recovery. You have to make sure you prioritize your recovery because, and like, what does that mean? Obviously, we talked about it a million times. Eat properly, sleep properly. When it's your downtime, make it your downtime. And maybe that extra skate with your buddies on a Friday night at 10 when they rent the ice, maybe that's not the best idea.
It's not.
You know, getting the extra skate early Saturday morning before you have to go work out, maybe not the best idea.
Yeah.
So you know, try to have a schedule for yourself and try to stick to it and be disciplined about it. The more disciplined you can be and staying on top of that, the better off you're going to be when you're training.
Just in addition to your last point, so I got a last point.
Yeah.
Then if you have a last point, just let me know.
Okay.
Charlie, one of his interviews, they laid out the schedule, and the team starts every single day at 7 in the morning.
They start the day. It's not
at
wake
the
up
rink.
at 7.
Be at the rink at 7. Might have been 7:30, but I'm pretty sure it was 7.
Yeah, whatever. It's early.
Okay?
Yeah.
Every day. Lift after games. Okay? And it's intense. Great. But I was talking to Charlie last night. I said, "Okay, son, are you happy if that's who drafts you? Are you glad that we've built a lifetime of going to bed at a decent time? Because I guarantee you, some kids to be performing at 7 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning, it's going to be a tough go.
Yep.
So these habits of going to bed and at a decent time, it wasn't cool maybe when your buddies are over.
Yeah.
But it's cool now if you get drafted to that team, and it's like, yeah, no big deal. I'll get up at 6 because I've been doing it for the last 10 years of my life, and I'm 16.
Yeah.
So it's just a good habit, guys, to get your sleep. In fact, last night I had to stay up another 20 minutes with my family. So it was 9:15, and I had to stay up because we had a reason. Like, I'm not going to explain it.
Yeah.
You know, it's embarrassing. No, it's just one of those things I had to. I couldn't be an asshole and say, "Okay, I'm going to bed."
Yeah.
You know, so I had to stay up. So my mind, and this is what happens. My mind, I was sitting there going, "I'll just grab a little snack now." So I said, "Charlie, do you want?" And it was light, so it was one of those rice cakes. No nutritional value, by the way.
Yeah.
And I threw some natural peanut butter on it, fat, which is not bad, but it was not necessary.
Not necessary.
And if I would have went to bed at my normal time, I wouldn't have had those extra calories for no reason. But the reason I had those calories was simply because I was bored and twitchy and tired, and my leptin or ghrelin levels said, go eat. You should eat something out of boredom. So it's just another reason why you need to get your sleep, because you're going to keep the stupid calories off.
Yep. Well, and especially if you are in a program that's really demanding like that, where it's super intense on ice and off ice, it's going to be real easy to slip into bad habits because mentally you're drained, you know? So you have to stay on top of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Otherwise, you can have the best program ever, but if you get 5 hours of sleep a night, you're not going to see any results, you know? So that recovery piece is huge.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you never, after a workout, you never sit there and you go, damn, that was stupid. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have worked out today. You never say that. You're always like, glad I worked out. And it's the same thing with sleep. If you have a good night's sleep and you wake up refreshed, you never say, you know, what an idiot I am. I should have stayed up till 2 and push the limits and, you know, drag my ass in today. That would have been a good idea, and not be sharp at all, right? Yeah. It's like, it's a discipline of getting to bed to recover. Like, recovery is huge, man. Yeah, it's huge. The bunch of books that I've been reading lately, Bill Robanowski, I put that on the podcast not too long ago. He figured that out really early, sleep and recovery. And as you become an athlete, you're going to hear those terms more. So this will help, the Whoop. It'll help you understand your body work. And we've got quite a few kids jumping on the wagon now. Yeah. We make zero money off of this. I don't know why we promote them so much, but it's just such a good tool.
Great tool, man.
And anyways.
Do you know, and we'll finish on this. I was going to ask you, because there's a lot, like one of the books where we always recommend Sleep Smarter, super easy to read. Yeah. We'll give people good tips on that. Or there's the guy that wrote that book, Sean Stevenson, even has a podcast that's interesting if you don't want to read the book. Do you know he actually just came out with a book too, which I haven't read, but I'm sure it's along the same lines. It's called Eat Smarter, which is about it's food stuff. So it's a lot of times it's not in the context of necessarily performance fueling and that kind of thing, but just good rules of thumb to to kind of live by if you want to be healthy, basically, is what those kind of books are. So I imagine that would be a good one too if anyone wanted to check that out.
That would be excellent. Guys, your eating habits are freaking huge.
Yeah.
Like especially like we're talking about the fitness and stuff, it goes hand in hand. Like food is actually your fuel. It's critical. It's actually not that complicated. Like the bare bones of it is not complicated.
Yep.
Drink lots of water. Hydrate. And then eat foods. I don't care what they are. Eat foods that don't come in packages.
Yep. Easy.
Yep. If you have to take it out of a package and assemble it, it's not food.
Well, you have 1 hour a day you're in the gym, 1 hour a day you're on the ice, maybe a little more. What do you do for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
That is where it makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
All of your time is away from the gym. It's away from the rink. It's away from your game.
Yeah.
That's almost all of your time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where you're going to make or break yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have good habits outside.
100%.
So, that's what I got to finish. Anything else?
Yeah, all done.
Good to go?
Yep.
Cool. So if I hope that was helpful. If anyone has questions, reach out because I know we kind of breezed through it pretty quick, but hopefully it was helpful.
Yep.
Sweet.